It seems like my sister has been reborn, too. In her past life, she had a passionate romance with the Prince of Beijing's social scene skipping class, getting into fights, and speeding through the streets only to die in a downpour for his sake. And she blamed me for all of it. After she was reborn, she suggested to my parents that I be transferred to the bottom-ranked class where the prince was enrolled. Sis. This time it's your turn to be bullied by him and get caught up in a twisted, intense romance with him. I laughed. The person was reborn, but their mind wasn't. Even if she lived 100 more lives, she still wouldn't be worthy of being my opponent. In a past life, my adoptive parents lured me home under the pretense of a family dinner and beat me to death. Even as I lay dying, their hideous faces were still before my eyes. I was only keeping you alive for Fanqing. Now that she's gone, what's the point of you still being alive? I was hit hard on the head with a baseball bat. The blood trickling down blurred my vision. I suddenly opened my eyes in the darkness. The strikingly clear scene left me staring in amazement for a couple of seconds. A familiar room bathed in sunlight. My adoptive mother and younger sister are sitting in front of me. Immediately, I heard my foster mother's anxious voice. Fanqing, what's going on? Your teacher called and said you want to transfer Clasesto, that underperforming class at the bottom of the grade. Lu Fanqing, the girl sitting across from him, looked up somewhat hesitantly. Change classes. Change classes. She blinked, as if she had just realized something. He looked around, then pointed at me. Mom. The teacher got it wrong. I meant to say I want to switch classes with my sister. With so many struggling students in class 13, you're always willing to help others. So I'm sure you'd be happy to give them a hand, right? In a past life, Lu Fanqing fell in love at first sight with Zhou Jinan, the crown prince of Beijing's social circles. It had only been 2 months since school started, and he was already begging to be transferred to class 13, where he was. In other words, it was the worst class in the entire grade. Her adoptive mother had always spoiled her, so she couldn't bring herself to refuse and agreed. As it turned out, she and Zhou Jinan were entangled for 7 years. In the end, she even died in a torrential downpour because he was speeding while drunk. In my previous life, I had almost no interaction with Zhou Jinan. We only exchanged a few words during the few times we ran into each other after graduation, but Lu Fanqing saw him as a thorn in his side. She has always stubbornly believed that Zhou Jinan and she have been on and off because he still has a soft spot for me. His white moonlight. Now, as she looked at me, I couldn't help but notice the malice and hatred in her eyes. It suddenly clicked. It turns out Lu Fanqing had been reborn as well. Hearing her say that, my adoptive mother turned to look at me. Fanqing is right. I'll go to the school today to help you transfer classes. In a tone that leaves no room for doubt. I know that the Lu couple took me in out of gratitude for my father's past kindness. But from start to finish, they treated me as nothing more than an attendant at Lu Fanqing's beck and call. They never really treated me like their own daughter. In a past life, Lu Fanqing cried and begged to switch classes, and since her adoptive mother was worried, she originally wanted me to go with her, but Lu Fanqing flatly refused. Well, a foster mother is one thing. Afterward, Lu Fanqing even came to me, smug as ever, to brag. Don't think I don't know Zhou Jinan skipped class to watch her violin competition the other day. Do you really think I'd give you the chance to spend every waking moment with him? I looked at her silly face and said nothing. Is Zhou Jinan coming to watch my violin competition? Just kidding. I doubt he even knows how many strings a violin has. I spread that rumor indirectly, with the sole purpose of keeping Lu Fanqing from dragging me down with her. But now, she has been reborn. It might not be a bad idea for me to switch things up and play along with her. That evening, Lu Fanqing slipped quietly into my room. In this house, I can't lock my door, because I'm not allowed to have any privacy. She stood by my bed, her cold, venomous gaze scanning me from head to toe. Finally, he suddenly burst out laughing. Sis, this time it's your turn to be bullied by him and get caught up in a twisted, intense romance with him. I wonder if she had already let someone know in advance. The very next day, As soon as I walked into class 13 with my backpack, a book came flying right at me. I turned my head slightly and dodged it. The next moment, a lazy voice drifted over from a short distance ahead. Who gave you permission to run away? Zhou Jinan leaned back lazily in his chair, his legs crossed and resting on the table, and looked at me haughtily. Never mind. I'll give you a chance. Pick up the book. Hand it to me respectfully. And let me smash it again. I'll let you off the hook for now this morning. Hearing him say that, my eyelashes fluttered. She bent down to pick up the book from the floor, then walked step by step toward him. Zhou Jinan was standing with a few of his buddies, and the looks they gave me were filled with contempt and undisguised hostility. I smiled. Is it hat bad? As he spoke, he slammed the hardest part of the book's spine down hard on the bridge of his nose. Ah! Zhou Jinan jumped right out of his chair. He pressed his hand to his nose, which was bleeding profusely, and suddenly gave me a chilling smile. You bitch. You dare lay a hand on me. You're done for. The guys around him looked angry and were about to close in on him. Fortunately, the teacher walked into the classroom just then. This is Lu Suiyan, the new transfer student in our class. He came in second on the entrance exam. I hope everyone gets along well from now on and takes a cue from Lu Suiyan. Oh. A straight A student. Zhou Jinan let out a cold laugh. Don't worry, teacher. We'll definitely get along with Lu. The way he bullied me was no different from the cliched scenes you find in those novels. It's nothing more than sticking thumbtacks into my chair and tossing dead snakes and mice into my drawers. I'll pull the nail out. He would also pick up dead snakes and mice with a blank expression and toss them into Zhou Jinan's arms. Instead, it scared him so much that his face turned pale when he realized those tactics wouldn't work on me. He resorted to the simplest and most direct form of violence. That afternoon after school, I opened my math workbook and found a little note inside. They're going to take you to the equipment room. I stared at the note for a few seconds, then crumpled it up and tossed it into the trash can. I wonder who wrote it. I heard that class 13 was full of underachievers. But in this life, after I transferred to this class and took a closer look, I realized that wasn't the case. The students in class 13 were divided into two distinct groups. Except for Zhou Jinan and his bunch of bullies, most of the remaining students are ordinary students from low-income families or facing various hardships. Their living and learning space has been squeezed down to almost nothing by the prince and his cronies. My gaze swept over the sparse crowd in the classroom. Finally, a girl named Su Xiang, sitting diagonally behind Zhou Jinan, looked away from me, seeming a little flustered. I understood perfectly well, so I pretended not to notice and stood up, carrying my backpack. Oh, Lu Suiyan. She hesitated for a long time, but finally called out to me. We'll walk home with you after school. She and the few girls standing nearby all mustered the courage to look at me. I stood there in silence, meeting their timid yet courageous gaze for a moment. He suddenly broke into a smile. It's okay. Don't get yourselves involved. I just walked out of the classroom. Zhou Jinan and a few of his buddies shoved me into the equipment room in the corner of the playground. There, I saw a face that looked very familiar. Lu Fanxing. Zhou Jinan stood beside her and nodded at me with his chin. Is this your sister? The one who acts like a tyrant at home just because she thinks she's done your family a favor? Lu Fanxing replied casually. But you shouldn't treat her that way either. I don't want to become like her. Her demeanor was utterly defiant and aloof, a complete contrast to the woman from her past life who had begged Zhou Jinan in tears not to break up with her. Having lived her life all over again, she now knew that the more Zhou Jinan, that bastard, ignored him, the more he liked her. Sure enough, seeing her like this, Zhou Jinan felt even more sorry for her. Lu Fanxing took a deep breath and said in a conciliatory tone, Besides, my sister has been playing the violin for so many years, her hands are her most precious asset. The more precious something is, the more beautiful it looks when it's destroyed, doesn't it? Zhou Jinan snorted derisively and waved his hand at the two men holding me down. Right here, right now. I'm going to break her fingers one by one. I'm going to make sure she can never play the violin again for the rest of her life. Hearing Zhou Jinan say that, when Lu Fanqing looked into my eyes. His delight was practically overflowing. They roughly shoved me over to the parallel bars and picked up the heavy dumbbells lying on the floor. It was about to come crashing down. I suddenly blurted out, "You idiot. What did you say?" I smiled at Zhou Jinan. If I were you, I wouldn't have caused such a foolish scene at school at this critical juncture in the Zhou family's equity distribution. His pupils suddenly contracted. I silently counted down in my head. 3, 2, 1. The door to the equipment room was kicked open violently. However, the person who came in wasn't the one I had arranged for. I turned my head and stared in astonishment at the girls standing at the door. I thought that question I'd mustered up the courage to ask in the classroom just now was the absolute limit of what they were capable of. But that's not the case. Su Xiang took a deep breath, leaned on the arm of the girl next to him, and held up the battered old-fashioned cell phone in his hand. Her voice trembled uncontrollably, yet it was full of resolve. "I've already called the police." The deathly silence lasted only a few seconds. Zhou Jinan couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Your name is Su Xiang, right? It seems the lesson I taught you before wasn't enough. Now you've got the nerve to step forward and play the hero. Call the police. Don't you know who I am? Do you think the police can do anything to me?" Under his cold, mocking gaze, Su Xiang's face grew paler and paler. Just then, however, a commanding female voice sounded from outside the door. "If the police can't control you, can I?" A woman wearing a dark blue silk dress stepped through the door in high heels. "Zhou Jinan, haven't I told you that things are a bit tense at home right now? So don't go stirring up trouble." The moment Zhou Jinan saw her, his earlier arrogance vanished without a trace. "Sis." Zhou Jinwei crossed her arms and looked at him coldly. "Let him go. Go home." Zhou Jinan clenched his teeth and said reluctantly, "Sis." She clearly started it. "No matter what you're doing, you need to choose your methods wisely and pick the right time. Just because I'm stopping you now doesn't mean I'll always stop you in the future." "That's right." I summoned Zhou Jinwei with an anonymous letter. Last month, the patriarch of the Zhou family passed away. His successors fought tooth and nail over the shares he left behind. At a time like this, even the slightest misstep can be used as an excuse to make a big deal out of nothing. Zhou Jinwei wouldn't let her younger brother ruin her big plans. But she was also determined not to let me take advantage of her like this. Before leaving, Zhou Jinwei glanced at me without a trace of emotion, as if she were looking at an ant on the side of the road. The meaning behind that look was all too clear. Once this internal turmoil within the Zhou family has settled down, Zhou Jinan can do whatever he wants to me. I met her gaze and silently mouthed the words, "See you next time." Lu Fanqing, standing nearby, stared at me intently for a moment, then suddenly burst out laughing. "Zhou Jinwei, of all people, is here. I see. So you're back, too." She shot me a smug, defiant look. "But what's the point? Now, I'm the one who's Zhou Jinan's white moonlight. And you're the one being bullied. Once the Zhou family's internal problems are resolved, I'll see who can save you then." After she left, looking very haughty, the equipment room was empty except for me and Su Xiang. "Lu Suiyan, since you're okay, we'll be on our way." She clutched the chipped, old-fashioned cell phone and managed to force a smile at me. "Wait a minute." I called out to her. "The midterm exam papers were handed out today. Are there any questions you didn't know how to answer that you'd like to ask me?" Su Xiang stopped in her tracks and stared at me in disbelief. "It's not just you guys, anyone else in class 13 who has questions is welcome to ask me." I smiled and put my arms around their shoulders. "We're a team, after all, so we should stick together and grow together, shouldn't we?" In reality, in this day and age, a rag storage's success story is one in a million. More often than not, they are ordinary people like Su Xiang, who come from poor families and don't exactly excel academically. For them, just staying alive is already a struggle, yet they still have to endure the exploitation and abuse at the hands of the likes of Zhou Jinan. But why? In the darkening equipment room, I met the eyes of a few girls as they gradually lit up. Like a spark in the night, I looked at them and said, word for word, this world was meant to belong to us ordinary people. The next day, Zhou Jinan didn't come to school. I know the internal strife within the Zhou family has reached a fever pitch. He simply doesn't have time to come to school. So, naturally, I took over class 13's self-study period. Those study hall and after-school periods that Zhou Jinan and his cronies would normally have used to lord it over everyone, making it impossible for anyone to study in peace. It's turned into my special time with everyone. Throughout my life, I have always given my all to my studies. I stayed up late, compiled a collection of key practice problems, printed them out, and sent them to the students. They worked their fingers to the bone on practice problems, jotting down anything they didn't understand and compiling it all together. I'll answer all your questions together the next day. During this time, Zhou Jinan's bunch of good-for-nothing henchmen even tried to step in and cause trouble. They laughed as they splashed paint on my chalkboard, then looked at me defiantly. Don't think you can run wild just because Brother Nan isn't here. The day he comes back will be the day you die. At my nod, Su Xiang's desk partner, a girl named Zhao Jia, quietly closed the front and back doors of the classroom. Then everyone stood up and moved step by step toward those people. It seems you guys haven't quite figured things out yet. I raised the water cup in my hand and smashed it viciously into the face of the leader of the henchmen. Before that happens, your time may come a little sooner. When the results of the second month's midterm exams came out, the entire grade was in an uproar. Class 13, which had always been at the bottom of the rankings, shot up to third place this time around. In fact, they secured 2 spots in the top 10 of their grade. The school administrators soon heard about the incident, and they went to Class 13's classroom specifically to find out what had happened. Su Xiang replied, "It's all thanks to our class representative, Lu Suiyan. She's been giving all of us private tutoring sessions behind the scenes." Lu Suiyan, the Lu family's adopted daughter. I seem to recall she originally came in second on the entrance exam, didn't she? She came in first in her grade this time. Who put her in Class 13? There are still some members of the school administration who remember me. They asked Su Xiang, "So where is she now?" That day also happened to be the day the turmoil within the Zhou family had subsided and Zhou Jinan returned to school. As expected, he brought some people along and blocked my way to school. In a dim alley outside the school gate, Zhou Jinan kicked over a trash can. He gave me a sinister smile. "Lu Suiyan, haven't I told you that when I get back, you're dead meat?" Lu Fanqing stood to the side and offered a couple of half-hearted words of advice. "Don't take this too far. If things get out of hand, it'll be hard to clean up the mess." "Don't worry." Zhou Jinan gave a cold laugh. "This time, my sister won't be coming to save her." He advanced step by step, accompanied by those henchmen I'd beaten up earlier. "I heard you came in first in your grade this time. When the hands that can both solve problems and play the violin are rendered useless, you'll probably cry your eyes out. Won't you?" They closed in on me forcefully, grabbed my wrists, and were about to slam them against the rough wall. That was the scene the school administrators saw when they came to find me with Su Xiang. "Stop!" At the principal's sharp rebuke, Zhou Jinan's henchmen flinched instinctively and let go. "It's school time. What are you doing here?" Before Zhou Jinan could say anything, I spoke first. "Teacher, they said they're going to cripple my hand." In the large conference room of the Academic Affairs building, Zhou Jinan and his entourage stood there listlessly. He looked completely unafraid. The principal cleared his throat. "We already understand the full story behind this. It's true that Zhou was in the wrong, but fortunately we arrived in time. So there were no serious consequences. Let's both back down a little and just let this matter drop." A clearly conciliatory attitude. I smiled. "I see. In that case, I demand that Zhou Jinan apologize to me." "That's not too much to ask, is it?" "Apologize to you." Zhou Jinan, standing nearby, looked as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "Who do you think you are? I do have surveillance footage. In that case, let's just call the police." We were locked in a tense standoff, neither of us giving an inch. One is a so-called prince of the Beijing elite from a wealthy and influential family. One is the top student in the grade who not only excels academically but also helps the entire class improve. If the incident becomes a big deal, it will be very damaging to the school's reputation. The principal couldn't afford to openly offend either side, so he had a teacher pull me aside to talk some sense into me. Lu Swayan. We know you feel wronged. We didn't stand up for you earlier. That was an oversight on the school's part. The school will award you this year's top scholarship, and we will also strengthen our oversight to ensure that no student in class 13 is ever treated unfairly again. Is that acceptable? I couldn't help but laugh. So the school knows that the students in class 13 have a rough time. A look of embarrassment immediately spread across the teacher's face. I watched her stand there speechless for a few seconds, then continued. But since you say so, let's do it that way. Also, I'd like to use this money to give a reward under a different Namito every single student in our class 13 who has made such great progress this time, except for the Crown Prince and his entourage. The school acted swiftly and soon awarded scholarships to each student in class 13 in recognition of the class's collective progress. When the news reached the class, Su Xiang, Zhao Jia, and the others reacted strongly. I don't want this money. Su Xiang looked at me, her eyes red-rimmed. He should have apologized and admitted his mistake. If we'd been a moment later. Your hand. I won't be late. I've calculated the school schedule and the time the honor roll is posted perfectly. I said. Besides, even if you hadn't come, they wouldn't necessarily have been able to do anything to me. People who have lived a life of luxury fear nothing more than a fight to the death. Zhao Jiath girl who, along with me, made it into the top 10 in our grade this time. She said nothing, but simply handed him the bank card she was holding. I pushed her back again. I don't need the money. I can make that back just by having a few college students write some code for a course project. Also, don't put any pressure on yourselves. A half-hearted apology is worthless. And he isn't truly remorseful, so what's the point? Only what you can actually hold in your hands counts as a benefit. There are less than 6 months left until the college entrance exam. For these girls from low-income families, material support allows them to focus more fully on their studies. In my faint memories of a past life, when the college entrance exam results were released, there were only a handful of students in class 13 who had been accepted into undergraduate programs. Everyone became mere background to Lu Fanqing and Zhou Jinan's tumultuous, heart-wrenching romance. In fact, 2 girls had even managed to annoy Zhou Jinan, who was already in a bad mood after arguing with Lu Fanqing. He had people beat him up so badly that he ended up in the hospital and missed this year's college entrance exams. I think perhaps my rebirth wasn't just because of death, but to help more people change their lives. But after T happened this time, Zhou Jinan must hate you even more. Right. Zhao Jia clutched the bank card and remained silent for a moment, sad with concern. And your sister's clearly been involved in these major incidents. I know they won't let this go. I smiled and ruffled her messy short hair. But I'll take care of all that. All you have to do is study hard. That day in the equipment room, you guys saved my life. I want to save you all this once, too. That night, I had a rare dream about my past life. After the college entrance exams were over, I moved out of the Lu family home. After that, I spent all my time in the lab and the library, and rarely went back home, until my second year of graduate school, while accompanying my advisor to an academic conference. I ran into Zhou Jinan. He struck up a conversation with me, pretending to be a high school classmate, in order to secure sponsorship for the project. I explained to him the project's growth potential. The very next day, Lu Fanqing showed up at his door, crying and shouting, with a face full of hatred. She shouted at me, "You bitch. What gives you the right to be the white moonlight he can't stop thinking about? You're just relying on your looks, aren't you? Who knows what tricks you've pulled to get into research? Maybe you even slept your way into your advisor's good graces." I took a bite of the sandwich in my hand and raised my hand with a blank expression. Security. 2 security guards came running at once. This woman might be a little mentally unstable. Could you please take care of her? After she was taken away, crying and screaming, my adoptive mother called me more than 10 times that day. I didn't answer a single call. I just told my senior colleague and moved into the research institute. Spending all day in the lab. It wasn't until the project had come to a temporary halt that I found out something had happened to Lu Fanqing. My foster mother tricked me into coming back under the pretext of a family dinner to mark Lu Fanqing's passing. Then he and my adoptive father killed M.E. I suddenly opened my eyes. Moonlight streamed into the room, bathing everything in a silvery glow. The pain of having my skull cracked open by a baseball bat still seems to linger in my body. I stared at the crescent moon for a moment, then let a faint smile play on my lips. There won't be a next time. After the school intervened, Zhou Jinan finally stopped bullying his classmates so brazenly. At the same time, however, he and Lu Fanqing were growing closer and closer. In this lifetime, Lu Fanqing played her cards perfectly, keeping the crown prince completely under her thumb. I have no idea what she said, but Zhou Jinan's gaze toward me has grown harsher by the day, with malice that seemed ready to burst forth. He didn't take it out on any of the other students, because all his hatred was directed at me. Before long, the day of the college entrance exam arrived. Due to our household registration status, Lu Fanqing and I weren't in the same exam room. First thing in the morning, Lu Fanqing insisted that her adoptive parents take her there. This is the first time I've taken such an important exam, so I'm really nervous. I want my mom and dad to be there with me. She held the glass of milk, smiling innocently. Anyway, my sister's exam site isn't far away, and she's always been independent, so let's just let her go on her own. As I stepped outside, the first golden rays of dawn peeked through the clouds. As we turned onto a quiet side street, the sky grew dark. The next moment, the roar of the engine grew louder as it approached. A bright red sports car slammed on its brakes and came to a screeching halt right in front of me. Zhou Jinan stepped out of the car with an aide and looked at me with a smile. The third time. And I caught you again. You've been taking advantage of her kindness and bullying Fanqing all these years. Do you really think you'll be able to take the exam without any trouble today? I tightened the straps of my backpack and stared at him impassively. Zhou Jinan. Today is your college entrance exam day. 2. Ha ha ha. The college entrance exam. He burst out laughing. You still need to take an exam to dream of changing your fate. But I was born at a height you can never reach. I could get into the best schools without even taking the exams. Do you think I'm like you? Aren't you the one who's good at playing mind games and pulling strings? Well, let's see what kind of backup you can bring in now. Oh, hiree, out of luck. Everyone else has gone to take their exams. No one's coming to save you. A sudden, sharp pain shot through my lower abdomen, and my mind went blank for a second. Before I knew it, he had kicked me hard in the stomach, and I fell to the ground. I struggled to sit up and braced myself against the wall. Just as I was about to stand up, he walked step by step toward me and looked down at me from above. I've had enough of you, lowly scum. You're nothing but a dog to me for the rest of your life. Who gave you the right to resist? This time, no one else needs to lift a finger. I'll break your fingers one by one with my own hands. He leaned down and reached out to grab my wrist. I quickly grabbed him by the hair and slammed him hard against the wall behind me. Ah! Amid Zhou Jinan's sudden, heart-wrenching scream, his henchman rushed over, grabbed my shoulders, and shoved me forward with all his might. My left shoulder slammed into the wall so hard I could almost hear the sound of bone snapping. A piercing pain shot through me, and I silently muttered to myself, "It's not enough." He raised his arm again and rubbed his forearm hard against the rough wall. It was a scene of bloodshed. Zhou Jinan, who had been curled up on the ground in pain, was helped to his feet. And as soon as he regained his balance, he saw the scene. He stood there. "What are you doing?" As the sun slowly moved westward, its rays dispelled the last traces of shadow on the path. Holding my left arm, which had suffered a minor fracture, I smeared the dripping blood across my skin. Bit by bit, the wound, not quite deep enough, tore open slightly, and blood dripped steadily, spreading into a shocking pool on the hem of her skirt. "Young master, you've been at school for 3 years. But you've spent every day bullying your classmates and haven't studied properly a single day. I held my breath, which was slightly ragged from the pain, and raised the corners of my eyes to look at him. So now I'm going to teach you this phrase, which originally appeared in the textbook. The anger of a commoner blood spattered 5 paces. The whole land donned white mourning garments. I even wondered if you were smart enough not to make your move today, but unfortunately, just like Lu Fanqing, you're hopelessly stupid. The wind carried the stifling heat across the open wound on my arm, and the sharpness of the pain only made me laugh all the more heartily. So what if you were born up there? Can you guarantee you'll always stay up there? The moment the words left his mouth, 2 reporters carrying cameras appeared at the small intersection. The flashlights came on one by one, aiming at the surveillance camera at the intersection that had been vandalized earlier. Aim at the mottled white hem of my skirt. Aim it at my blood. IED arm. Focus on my red-rimmed eyes and the tears falling one by one. What's going on here? It was only then that Zhou Jinan belatedly realized he had been tricked by me. I'm a member of the Zhou family. I'm here to settle a personal score, he said coldly. If you want to stay in this business, get the hell out of here. Hearing him say that, the 2 reporters put away their cameras. Zhou Jinan thought his threat had worked, and gave me a cold smile, but the next moment, they moved even closer together. Young master, there are always people in this world who aren't afraid of you. Are you so used to being fawned over from your lofty position that you don't realize this? The female reporter carefully avoided my injured left arm and took my other hand. Let's go. I got into the car with the 2 reporters I had contacted in advance, and we sped off. Zhou Jinan's car was right behind him, hot on his heels. Time is running short, and the test takers have already entered the exam room. Right now, the entrance is packed with parents who have come to see their children off to the exam. There were also quite a few reporters who had arrived early in the morning and were waiting outside, ready to capture some footage of the college entrance exams. The car in front of them slammed on the brakes. At that moment, everyone stared in astonishment as I pushed open the car door and burst out, covered in blood. Zhou Jinan. I turned to the bright red sports car behind me and said, word for word, even if you're a member of the Zhou family, the so-called Prince of Beijing's political circles, what right do you have to stop me from taking the exam? Don't even mention that you broke my arm. Even if I had only a breath left, I'd crawl my way in today to turn in my exam. If it comes to that, just kill me right here. He jumped out of the car, braced himself against the doorframe, and stared at me, both shocked and angry. In the reflection in his pupils, I saw what I look like now. His hair was a mess, his body was covered in bruises, and he looked a complete mess. But the blood-red hem of her skirt billowed up again, like a flag fluttering in the wind. What's the matter? Are you afraid? I curled the corners of my mouth upward, my gaze shifting from the 2 police cars speeding up behind him back to him, and flashed a defiant smile. Well then, I'm going in to take the exam now. In the sweltering heat of June, I found myself sitting in an exam room without even air conditioning. The wound on my arm was soaked with sweat, but the pain actually made my mind clearer and sharper. After finishing the 2 exams on the first day, I went to the hospital to get my wound treated. Su Xiang was with me. She had always been timid and fragile, but this time, she didn't shed a single tear. Will it leave a scar? I glanced down. The doctor is using a pair of fine tweezers to remove the grains of sand from the wound one by one. Maybe, but it doesn't matter at all, because I only got a few scrapes and bruises. It just looks scary. I smiled, squinting my eyes. He's the crown prince. After all, if you want to make a big deal out of this, you'll have to pay a price. After treating the wound, I didn't go back to the Lu family's house that night. We spent the night in a small hotel near the exam site. Whether in this life or the last, this exam hasn't been particularly difficult for me, not to mention, I have complete memories of my past life. Everything I've learned and all the research I've produced are firmly etched in my mind, become an irreplaceable treasure. This is something Lu Fangxinghe is still caught up in the web of sexual attraction will never possess. No matter how many times she is reborn. After the final exam was over, I went straight to the hospital. Lying in my hospital room, I pulled out my phone and, as expected, Saw my name trending online. Ranked first in 3 mock college entrance exams yet nearly missed the actual exam. Zhou Jinan. I am a member of the Zhou family. Lu Suiyan is so handsome. Before the exam began, the scene of me standing outside the exam hall, covered in blood, facing off against Zhou Jinan, was suddenly at the top of the trending topics. Oh my gosh. She's coming to take the college entrance exam even though she's injured like this. She's at the top of her class. She was bullied by Zhou the whole time she was in school. If she can't even take the college entrance exam, all 3 years of her hard work will have been for nothing. Has anyone looked into the Zhou family? They really think they can do whatever they want. I turned off my phone and looked at the 2 people standing by the hospital bed. Su Xiang was skillfully peeling the apple with a small knife, making circular cuts. Zhao Jia sat across from me. Everyone wanted to come see you, but they were afraid of disturbing your recovery. So they asked us to come on their behalf. It's nothing serious. I'll be discharged tomorrow. I moved my shoulder and left arm, which were in a cast, and smiled at her. How did you do on the test? Do you think you can beat me? Who wants to beat you? She looked at me quietly. How can you be sure those 2 reporters will definitely help you? It's not surprising that she would ask a question like that. Zhao Jia was the quietest, yet also the sharpest student in the entire 13th class. That day, Zhou Jinan and I had a car chase all the way to the entrance of the exam site, and all the reporters and parents saw it. In reality, however, very few people reported on the incident. No one wanted to risk offending the Zhou family by helping someone who had walked into the exam hall covered in blood and might not even be able to finish the test. But those 2 young, brave female reporters were different, because brave people will always be brave. A righteous person is always righteous. In the past, something major happened at the school next door. A professor who had engaged in academic misconduct for years and embezzled over 100 million yuan in research funds was reported by a joint petition signed by dozens of students he had taught. Leading the way were 2 young and courageous female journalists. One is named Su Nan, and the other is named Lu Yan. When I got in touch with them this time around, they were both still doing their internships. After I finished explaining my plan to make a big deal out of things, they were all baffled. Since you figured out what he was planning to do, you could have easily avoided the danger. There was no need to put yourself in harm's way. On the phone, Su Nan's tone was full of confusion. Because I don't want to just avoid him this one time. I lowered my eyes to the butterfly knife I was playing with in my hand and let out a soft chuckle. I'm not the only one he's bullied, and it's not just my class. If we're going to make a fuss, let's make a big one. The public outcry raged for more than half a month, reaching its peak the moment the college entrance exam results were released. That's because I scored nearly 20 points higher than in my previous life and became the provincial top scorer that year. My leverage kept growing, until the Zhou family finally had no choice but to send someone with more authority to negotiate with me. My foster parents called me and repeatedly insisted that I must go back to the Lu family home. The moment I opened the door and saw Zhou Jinwei, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Miss Zhou, as I said that day, we'll meet again. She looked at me. Anger flashed briefly in her beautiful eyes before giving way to a well-mannered composure. Lu Suiyan, just tell me what you want. I feigned ignorance. What conditions? His adoptive father, sitting nearby, suddenly slammed his hand on the table. Don't play dumb, Lu Suiyan. Know when to quit while you're ahead. It goes without saying that the Lu family has probably already reached some kind of agreement with the Zhou family. My foster mother also looked at me coldly. You came to live with us when you were 10. We've raised you all these years. Are you really going to bite the hand that fed you? Huh. It was as if I'd heard some ridiculous joke, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. You adopted me because my father, a distant relative of the Lu family, died trying to save you. You were afraid the Lu family would be labeled as ungrateful, so you went to the orphanage and brought me home. I traded my life for 8 years as a servant in your Lu household. Does that mean I'm the one who owes you in the end? I lost my patience and stood up from the couch. I went into the bedroom, put my ID in its case, and slung my guitar case over my shoulder. When I left, Zhou Jinwei was still sitting in her usual spot. The look he gave me was filled with undisguised loathing. That was the malice of a superior toward an inferior who had dared to offend her, a malice so intense that she longed to kill the person on the spot. I smiled. Miss, you must have guessed before you came here today that I wouldn't agree to a settlement. Right. I just wanted to see if you're as stupid as I imagined. She stood up. In her high heels. She towers over me by a head and exudes a powerful presence. Those eyes looked down on me coldly. It really does seem that way now. That whole a commoner's rage thing, it's just something people say. You don't really believe it, do you? She tugged at the corners of her lips, revealing an icy smile. You can see for yourself what happens when you cross the Zhou family. Ask yourself if you can handle the consequences. In the end, the matter concluded with the Zhou family paying a heavy price to quell the public outcry. To lie low for a while. Zhou Jinan was sent abroad to study. As for me, I returned to school with all the students from class 13 to receive the honor that was rightfully ours. In this year's college entrance exams, Class 13, which had originally been the lowest performing class, saw every single student pass the cutoff score for undergraduate programs. Zhao Jiao was admitted to the top university right next door with a score of 692. The principal was so moved that his cheeks turned bright red. He shook my hand repeatedly and said he would award me a generous scholarship. I smiled and said, I suppose you're aware of what happened outside the exam hall earlier, aren't you? He froze in his tracks. Rather than scholarships, I would prefer that the school handle matters impartially from now on and strengthen its management. At the very least, let's hope we never see another Zhou Jinan who treats human life as worthless. He gave a couple of nervous laughs in response. I know that after the incident on the day of the college entrance exam, the Education Bureau sent people to investigate several previous bullying incidents. Given the importance they place on this, we can expect a fair and equitable learning environment here for at least the next few years. As I was leaving school, I ran into Lu Fanqing. The look she gave me was filled with a hatred almost more searing than in my previous life. Lu Suiyan, how dare you? How dare you? She glared at me, as if she wanted to burn two holes right through me. Do you really think getting a second chance at life will let you run wild? If you dare to cross the Zhou family, you might not even know how you'll end up dying one day. You don't need to worry about that. I curved the corners of my mouth, but there was not a trace of a smile in my eyes. Or, you could try it out for the Zhou family first. What price will you have to pay to kill me? In September, I enrolled in the School of Optoelectronics at Tsinghua University. Because of the lingering buzz from that previous media storm, my every word and action is under the scrutiny of countless people. This popularity will not only allow me to remain safe for the time being within the Zhou family's sphere of influence, it also allows me to get in touch with my mentor from my past life as quickly as possible. Professor Tan, I'd like to ask you to be my advisor for this year's World University Hardware Programming Competition. She studied me for a moment, and the look in her eyes behind her glasses gradually softened. I know you're the student who dared to stand up to the Zhou family. After I won the gold medal in this year's competition without any dispute, I chose a time when no one else was around and handed my research findings on the chip, which were several years ahead of the current state-of-the-art OM.Y advisor ahead of schedule. This project is currently under strict confidentiality. In the empty office, she looked at me sternly with a scrutinizing gaze. And you're just a freshman right now. Lu Suiyan, I need an explanation. You could say I'm exceptionally gifted. Or, but I didn't drink the soup of Mangpo when I was reincarnated. I smiled. I know you have your doubts. You are free to verify the experimental data and results I've submitted. And you are also free to investigate my background. I just want to do my best. After all, in this era of rapid global technological advancement, you should know better than I do just how valuable it is to avoid a few years of detours and gain a lead over all other nations in a particular technology. I've always been a cautious and thorough person. And I knew she would actually look into it. So I waited patiently. About a week later, she invited me over to her place. The first thing she asked me was the same question Zhao Jia had asked me back in the hospital room. How do you know these two reporters will definitely help you? But it's a little different. You didn't reach out to anyone else. You went straight to them. The fact that you didn't try anyone else means you were certain from the start how they would react. You didn't even go to the trouble of looking up their contact information. And even before that, you sent an anonymous letter to the Zhou family. The quiet room with the curtains drawn. I looked her in the eye, keeping a calm expression. My mother passed away when I was very young. And after my father died as well, I was taken in by the Liu family. For a long time, I didn't know what love and acceptance from my elders felt like, until I met my mentor in a past life. At the time, I was busy working on a paper that was due for publication, so I spent 3 days straight in the lab. And my eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep. At the department dinner that evening, I was still crunching numbers in my head. Just as I was lost in thought, she suddenly tapped me on the head with the tip of her chopsticks. "You're so distracted even while eating. Someone who didn't know better might think I'm overworking you." I suddenly snapped out of it. She gave my cheek a little pinch. "Wouldn't it be nice if you smiled more? You're so young, how come you're not as cheerful as an old lady like me?" But in this life, she looks into my eyes. After a long silence, he suddenly spoke. "When I'm not doing research, I occasionally read some novels, the kind about time travel and reincarnation. It's a bit out there, but I have to admit, it's actually pretty good." I blinked. "Really?" "I don't really watch it. I'll have someone review the materials you submitted as soon as possible, and then proceed with the project's RD process in a reasonable manner," she continued. "As for you, once you finish your core courses, I'll ask the school to let you join my lab early. If there are any other difficulties, please feel free to bring them up. Just thinking about that wakes me right up." I took a step forward, took her hand, and said sincerely, "Teacher, there really is. Thanks to my mentor's help in setting things up, I was able to successfully sell several large-scale algorithm programs I had written. Not only have they saved up a substantial amount of money, but they've also gained access to information channels that are many times more reliable than before. One company even handed me an invitation to a business dinner. I went there hoping to land a few more deals. But that's where I ran into Liu Fanqing, dressed in a snow-white little dress and wearing a necklace of round pearls. She followed behind Zhou Jinwei. He enjoyed the adulation of everyone along with her. I remember that in her past life, her relationship with Zhou Jinan was not accepted by the Zhou family. Zhou Jinwei despised her intensely and had repeatedly stated in public that the Zhou family would never accept a girl from such a humble background. It seems she has managed to fit right in with the Zhou family this time. I gave a sarcastic smile, handed him a business card, and turned to leave. But Liu Fanqing called out to him, "Liu Suiyan." I turned around and realized she had left Zhou Jinwei's side and walked over to me alone. Holding a glass of wine, he put on an innocent expression. "Sisters don't hold grudges overnight. Instead of going around peddling your wares to make a buck, why don't you just ask me for a favor? What do you want from me?" She burst out laughing. "I'm already Zhou Jinan's fiancé, recognized by the Zhou family. What on earth do you want from me?" As she spoke those words, her eyes sparkled with barely contained pride. It suddenly clicked. She came to see me just to show off. In this life, she finally got her wish and became a member of the Zhou family. She's so stupid I don't even want to say another word to her. I turned and walked away, and she shouted after me in a fit of rage, "How long do you think you can keep gloating? The fallout from that incident is long over. Once Jinan returns to the country, no one will be able to save you. Liu Suiyan, I'll watch you die with a smile on my face." I saw Zhou Jinan again at an industry conference I attended with Zhao Jia. It has been 3 years since that college entrance exam controversy. Zhao Jia and I were walking through the huge exhibition hall at the industry conference. A few rays of light streamed in through the skylight. He turned to look at me. "Xiang called me this morning to say she passed her interview and can start her internship next week. We're all so grateful. You tutored us for nearly a year and helped us all reach the cutoff score for undergraduate admission. Now you've used your connections to get us all internal ref air. ALS for internships." She paused for a moment. Seeing that I seemed to be concentrating on adjusting the robotic arm next to me, her voice suddenly dropped. "Sometimes I feel like this is all a dream. Because that night I had a dream that it wasn't you who transferred to class 13. But your younger sister. She was bullied by Zhou Jinan. But instead of fighting back, she fell in love with him. Later, right before the college entrance exams, they had a fight, and that afternoon, Xiang and I just happened to be passing by. I suddenly turned my head and patted the back of her hand, cutting her off before she could finish speaking. It's all set. Come over and give it a try. Zhao Jia suddenly fell silent and, controlling the robotic arm, smoothly typed a string of code on the keyboard. Don't dwell on it. You said yourself, that was just a dream. I said, where you are right now is reality. Also, I didn't put in all that effort for nothing. I used all my connections so that you guys would do me a favor. Just tell everyone that this is a fair exchange, not something you owe me. She stared at me blankly. This person has never been one for words. Even if he wanted to say something now, he probably wouldn't be able to find the right words. I was just about to remind her that it was time to go when I suddenly heard a male voice that was all too familiar. Lu, Sui, N. I paused and looked up. Not far away. His sharp gaze locked with Zhou Jinan's. Perhaps because he'd spent 3 years honing his skills abroad, he's become much more composed than before. With a deliberately reserved air, he gave me a faint smile and said, "Long time no see. So it's young Master Zhou." I smiled. "It's been 3 years since I last saw you. I thought you died in a shootout." His expression remained unchanged, but the menacing aura lingering between his brows grew even more intense. "You should count yourself lucky that we're still in the country. Otherwise, even if I pulled out a gun and killed you right now, I could claim it was self-defense." He probably thought he sounded pretty impressive when he said that. However, just then, the robotic arm next to him rotated half a turn counterclockwise and struck the back of his head. "What are you doing?" Zhou Jinan lost his composure in an instant and glared at Zhao Jia, who was standing next to me. With a murderous look in his eyes, she remained calm and quietly turned the robotic arm back. "Sorry. My hand slipped and I pressed the wrong button." Zhou Jinan is an impatient person. It wasn't long before he made his move. That afternoon, someone suddenly accused me and my advisor of academic misconduct. The reason is, how could she, an undergraduate student who hasn't even graduated yet, possibly have developed such a chip and published 3 papers in top-tier journals? The standoff outside the exam hall all those years ago has resurfaced. Only this time, public opinion has shifted. They say I'm deliberately creating a buzz and crafting a persona for myself. After all, she ended up taking the exam anyway and even came in first place no matter how you look at it. That's just unbelievable, isn't it? That's true. If an ordinary person had really offended the Zhou family, would they still be living such a good life now? I heard that as soon as she started school, she won a gold medal at that year's World Hardware Design Competition. What ordinary student could do something like that? There must be something wrong with her advisor, too. Manipulating public opinion is a specialty of families like the Zhou family. 3 years ago, they were simply at a disadvantage because I beat them to it. This time, it's clear they want to eliminate the threat once and for all. So I'll never be able to recover. All the projects my advisor and I were working on were put on hold, and we were even suspended from classes pending an investigation by the university, since the situation has gotten out of hand. This is just a routine investigation. Even as she was being taken away, she was still comforting me. "Don't worry, we have nothing to hide." I asked her, "Teacher, do you believe me?" She gazed at me calmly in the setting sun. If you extend the timeline of an event to the point where every key moment in the past is magnified, and take a look at what everyone did, you'll discover some very interesting things. It's like playing chess. Every move you make doesn't necessarily have an immediate effect. But long after, when everything falls into place. I tapped my chin with my fingertips. You'll realize that those actions back then weren't motivated by just the immediate goal. For the next 2 weeks, I did nothing and let public opinion run its course. I even deliberately left out some flaws so that the Zhou family would think there were genuine problems with my thesis and research findings. So they pounced and bit even more viciously, like wild beasts that had tasted blood. Even Lu Fanqing stepped forward, tearfully denouncing the situation to the media. They say that even though the Liu family has taken me in for all these years, I've repaid their kindness with ingratitude, using my status as the older sister to bully her without restraint. After all the commotion, it finally reached the point where the whole country was paying attention to the matter and demanding that we provide an explanation. And then I held a press conference that was streamed live across the internet. The people interviewing me were Su Nan and Liu Yan, with their cameras trained on me. I unfolded the paper in my hand. These are some notes I've kept since high school on helping college students with their course projects. This is a detailed explanation of my complete approach to the development of the TW2108 chip. Here are the first draft, second draft, final draft, and all the experimental data for my thesis. As for whether the incident outside the college entrance exam venue back then was a publicity stunt, you can watch the video below. The video projector turned on and played the short clip of the path from back then. The close-up is clear enough to bring out every detail. A surveillance camera at the intersection that had been vandalized earlier. My white skirt was stained with splotches. A bloodied and mangled arm. My eyes were red and swollen, and tears were streaming down my face. And then there's Zhou Jinan, who suddenly turns his head in the frame, his expression fierce. I'm a member of the Zhou family. I'm here to settle a personal score. If you want to stay in this business, get the hell out of here. Click. The screen went dark. I gathered my thoughts and continued, looking into the camera. I know the Zhou family has always hated me. They believe I should end up just like everyone else they've ever bullied and oppressed, reduced to a speck of dust, vanishing into the mists of time. But I refuse to accept my fate. Why should you get away with bullying on campus? Why should you be able to spread rumors and pass off lies as the truth? This world does not belong to your Zhou family. It belongs to every single person. The heavens are vast and bright. There will surely come a time when the clouds part and the sun shines through. I am now filing a formal complaint against the Zhou family, accusing them of intentional homicide, engaging in unfair business practices, and monopolizing the market. Several photos appeared on the large screen. They were contract documents bearing the Zhou family's official seal. There are also countless photos capturing the glitz and glamour, taken from hidden angles. Every single person in the picture is wealthy and powerful. They were chatting happily with Zhou Jinan, Zhou Jinwei, and their ilk. There are even photos of Zhou Jinan meeting with certain people during his 3 years studying abroad. The evidence hadn't been fully presented when the live stream was abruptly cut off, but I know that everything I say and share will spread rapidly across the vast internet. Su Nan, Liu Yan, and I were sitting in the room. The spotlight shone on my face, making it feel slightly warm. I rubbed my cheeks and smiled. I told you, I don't want to just avoid him this one time. If we're going to make a fuss, let's make a big one. The internal strife within the Zhou family back then involved far more than just a few shares. Because so much was at stake, there was no room for error. Which is why Zhou Jinwei came personally to stop Zhou Jinan's foolish actions. That day, after leaving the equipment room, she took him to a luxury suite at an exclusive private club, where they struck a deal that would shape their future. With the help of that group of people, they emerged victorious in the war against the Zhou family. Later, the college entrance exam scandal blew up. Under the pretext of keeping a low profile, Zhou Jinwei sent Zhou Jinan abroad, making it easier to maintain contact and collaborate. He came back this time because everything was ready. Once they've pushed me and my supervisor out, the people they've lined up will take over our project and hand the results over to someone else. That day, I asked my advisor if he believed in me. She was silent for a moment, then asked me, "What do you want me to do to help?" Then I gave her a list. My combined experience from both lives has not only helped me avoid many wrong approaches, it also allows me to see clearly the questions that have remained hidden in the shadows, questions I could never find answers to in my past life. So I sold the software to some companies that had business ties with the Zhou family. And by leveraging my connections, I arranged for students from class 13 to secure internships there. Whenever they tag along with the marketing department to business dinners, they always manage to snap some useful photos along the way. Once you know the result, you can work backward to figure out the process. There are clues to be found in many things. It also makes it easier to find evidence that wasn't completely destroyed. The Zhou family knew things were looking bad. Yet they still tried to use their old tactics to suppress public opinion. But this time, they were the ones who generated the buzz. How could I possibly let them have their way? The house is about to collapse. It was a drizzly day when Zhou Jinwei and Zhou Jinnan, the heads of the Zhou family, were taken away for questioning. Among them, the Liu family, which has formed a deep partnership with them and has even gone so far as to form an alliance through marriage, was no exception. Her adoptive parents loved Liu Fanqing to the utmost. In a past life, they killed me because of her. Knowing he couldn't escape this time, he took the blame for all the charges. Once again, Liu Fanqing managed to slip away. But apart from her life, she had nothing left. That afternoon, I walked out of the research institute's main gate, holding an umbrella. Suddenly, a figure lunged at me. I narrowly managed to dodge it and got a clear look at the person's face. Liu Fanqing. She slumped down in the puddles and demanded angrily, "Why me? In your past life, you did nothing. Yet you became the white moonlight he longed for. In this life, I've become just like you, an irreplaceable presence in his heart. So why on earth would you destroy him and ruin the entire Zhou family? Liu Suiyan, you bitch. Why isn't it you who's dead?" There was a sharp smack as I slapped her hard across the face. I tossed aside my umbrella, cupped her face in my hands as the rain fell, and said, word by word, "Because, damn it, it's never been me. Did I destroy the Liu family? It was clearly they who committed murder and arson, colluded with the enemy, and betrayed the country, bringing about their own downfall. The Crown Prince of the Beijing Circle. What era is this? The whole Crown Prince concept should be consigned to hell along with the remnants of feudalism. Liu Fanqing, don't you get it yet? You're just too stupid and narrow-minded. Do you know how much you can accomplish by leveraging information asymmetries when you get a second chance at life? You could save the future of an entire class, give our country a 5-year head start in the development of a core technology, or root out a cancerous problem long before it takes hold, thereby avoiding massive losses. To put it dramatically, you could change the whole world. Yet all you care about is how to become the woman of his dreams and make him fall completely in love with you. You're hopelessly stupid." She sat there in the rain, tilted her head back, and stared at me blankly. The rain grew heavier and heavier, pelting down on us and blurring the world around us. A moment later, Liu Fanqing suddenly burst into tears. After the Zhou siblings were sentenced to death, I heard they were still trying to find a way to save themselves. Zhou Jinan actually managed to find some men, and they escaped from prison on their way to the execution ground. The police pursued them all the way to the pier, where, by the seaside, Zhou Jinan was shot more than 20 times and died on the spot. Liu's adoptive parents were sentenced to 20 years in prison. After the news broke, Liu Fanqing committed suicide. Perhaps she felt she had nothing left to lose and could never recover. Or perhaps she still clung to the hope that she might be reborn after this death. But who knows? I turned off the computer and went to the window to wash my hands. Through the window, I saw Su Xiang and Zhao Jia standing outside the Research Institute's gate with the students from Class 13, waving at me. I turned to my advisor and said, "I'd like to take the night off. We have a group activity. It sounds like I never let you join in on activities." She glanced at me. "Go on. You're still young and spend all your time in the lab like a workaholic." I waved to her and got up to go downstairs. The elevator doors opened to reveal the spacious first-floor lobby, bathed in the fiery glow of the setting sun. My friends are waiting for me up ahead, and the path ahead of me is filled with light.